This video is sponsored by Chord Company, manufacturers of the speaker cables and interconnects used by a British audiophile. For more information about these and their other products, please click the link in the description. I've been doing this channel for 5.5 years, and in that time I don't think the performance of amplifiers and speakers has changed significantly at all. But digital audio, and in particular DACS, that's a different matter. Chinese brands now set the standard from the entry level right up to about $5,000. At accessible price points, SMSL and topping rule the roost. There are models from £100 right up to the topping D93 at £1,000 that you see here. It has a Class A analog output stage, linear power supply, two ESS 9039 Pro chips taking care of the conversion, and even a decent digital volume control. The kind of performance offered for the money by this topping DAC would have been unheard of 10 years ago. I'm not aware of anything 5 years ago that would have come close either. But it's not my favourite DAC below £1,000. That honour passes to the Denafrips Aries 12-1, now rebadged as the Enyo 15th anniversary. Due to Denafrips changing their distribution model in 2024, the price has also come down from £1,065 to £690. They did the same with the rest of the range as well. The £3,000 Venus model got some tweaks and was rebadged as the £2,100 Pontus model, and so on. I'm sure you get the idea. What it meant was that Denafrips dramatically improved their value proposition from what was already excellent to extraordinary. It was only a matter of time before the market responded, and today I'm looking at a response from one of their key competitors, and oh my, what a response. The new flagship Gustard R30 R2R ladder DAC retails for £2,999 in the UK, sold directly from the Shenzhen Audio website and some other retailers. The sturdy aluminium casework is available in silver or black. The aesthetic is minimalist and sleek. A stylish tempered glass panel runs the full width, hiding a clear OLED display that comes to life by the press of the Gustard logo. A long press of the settings icon will access the menu functions, which I'll discuss later. Short presses facilitate input selection, of which there are many. The R30 has a total of 7 digital inputs. The R30 has a step relay analog volume control to ensure precise channel matching and better linearity across the volume range than potentiometer-based attenuation. Direct output bypassing the preamp section is achieved when the DAC is set to a fixed volume. The controls are replicated on a remote control, which is functional but plastic and feels inexpensive compared to the main unit. All the connections I would wish for on a high-end DAC are provided: a 10 MHz BNC input to use with external clocks, 2 I2S inputs, one labelled G, pre-configured for other Gustard devices, then there's coax, optical, AES EBU and USB. The LAN connection is to access the built-in streaming module. Flanking the digital connections left and right are analog outputs on single-ended RCA and balanced XLR. Internally, the R30 is a fully balanced R2R ladder DAC. As I've come to expect from Gustard, everything internally is impressively laid out. AC inlet filter, 2 toroidal transformers encased in pots. I think each one of these is rated at 50 VA. One takes care of the analog section, the other the digital section. And there's some further shielding to ensure that minimal noise goes through to the circuitry. Here's the power supply with 6 devices mounted to these small heat sinks. Now they could be for rectification, converting AC into DC, or regulation to ensure a stable voltage output, or a combination of those two things. Any ripple that's left over is filtered out by 6 Nishcon capacitors. Each one's rated at 1000 microfarads, and then the final bit of filtering is done by 4 small Nishcon Muse capacitors to clean up the signal. And then you've got 4 resistor ladder networks, again shielded to reduce noise. Now remove the shielding on one of them so you can see the resistors. It's 27-bit architecture in a balanced configuration to deal with PCM and there's a ladder that deals with DSD in true 1-bit form, as in it's not converting DSD into PCM. These devices switch the resistors and it's controlled by an FPGA, and it's the same on the other side. So that's one balance ladder network, and then they're doubling up here. And the reason they do that, double up on the architecture, is so that they can sum the output and lower the noise floor. And the dynamic range on this DAC is highly impressive for an R2R ladder DAC at 123 dB. Everything's controlled by circuitry under here, again encased in shielding. There'll be an FPGA under there that deals with the filtering, probably another one that deals with system control. You need a clock in a DAC, and that's what these two devices are for. Now this is the crystal oscillator. There are crystal oscillators, and then there are crystal oscillators. In many DACs you'll find femto crystal oscillators, so crystal oscillators that have precision down to femtoseconds, and in better ones they have temperature compensating crystal oscillators, which account for the variation in output as the environment changes in temperature. The output of the crystal oscillator also changes. Better than that is an oven controlled crystal oscillator, which eliminates the problem of the temperature changing in the first place by encasing everything in a bath. That you only find on very, very good DACs, and that's what you got here. Oven controlled crystal oscillator that feeds the Gustard proprietary clocking circuit, which is here. Again, everything's shielded. This is the input section. That board that sticks up is for the streamer, USB input. The rest of the inputs are here. And then that is the output circuitry, same on the other side. You've got a discrete Class A output stage with no op-amps in the signal path to get the cleanest possible output. And these small little devices that you see here, they're relays for adjusting the volume. Normally you'd find on an analog device a volume pot, potentiometer to adjust the volume. Problem with that is they have inconsistent channel matching. There can be an imbalance between one channel and the other, and they tend to sound best in a certain part of their range. These relays tend to have much better channel matching and much better linearity across their output. Now, if this was a £10,000 DAC, I wouldn't bat an eyelid to see all of this in here. To find it in a £3,000 DAC is mighty impressive. Let's face it, the vast majority of us have to work within some kind of budgetary constraint, so in order to achieve the sound that we want, quite often we have to give up something in order to gain something. Hi-fi is often about compromises. The skill is choosing the right compromises for you. Let me give you some personal examples. The Topping D93 that I mentioned in the intro has excellent detail retrieval. The signal to noise ratio and other measurements are off the chart if you're interested in that kind of stuff. It also has a very neutral and uncoloured sound. No doubt, it's a great DAC, and for objectivists out there, measurements don't really get any better regardless of what you spend. So why isn't it my preferred choice, despite it costing £1,000? I'm prepared to give up a touch of bass control and mid-range transient attack for a richer tone and a substantially wider and deeper soundstage. It may be added harmonic distortion and tuning to take advantage of psychoacoustic effects, but that's what the Denafrips Neo 15 delivers. It doesn't stop there. It's a similar balancing act when choosing the traits I prefer in DACs that retail between £2 and £3 grand. The Gustard X30 has a permanent place on my hi-fi rack. The exquisite architecture, including 4 ESS 9039 Pro chips with 32 channels of digital to analog conversion, some to lower the noise floor, takes performance to levels I've not experienced from a Delta Sigma DAC before. It has a soundstage as deep and wide as my Pontus 15th. Normally those traits are the preserve of R2R ladder designs, but the X30 has even better stereo imaging than the Denafrips DAC, only losing out to the Pontus 15th in its reproduction of fine timbre. It was a year ago when I compared the Gustard X30 to the Denafrips Pontus 15th, and I said at the time I wish I could have combined the traits of both of these DACs into one unit. Well, that's what the R30 represents, and a bit extra. An interruption for this week's music suggestion. I've never heard Cannonball Adderley and Bill Evans sound as real as with this R30. No particular track suggestion this week. Do yourself a favour and listen to the whole album. Know what I mean? Back to the review and comparisons between the Denafrips Pontus 15th, Gustard X30 and Gustard R30. The sense of scale and spatiality is very similar on all three of these DACs. The Denafrips has the most relaxed mid-range with vocals and lead instruments sitting a little further back, but the R30 has the best instrument separation and localization of performers of the trio. The bass delivery rivals the X30 for definition and mid-range transient attack, whilst adding a welcome increase in weight. It's still lighter than the Pontus 15th in mass, but noticeably cleaner and more agile. As for the mid-range, the X30 glosses over some of those fine details, whereas the Pontus 15th adds a little bit of bloat and warmth. The R30 is a touch more resolving than both of them and renders notes with just enough body to sound authentic. Denafrips no doubt have made a smart choice. Whatever extra distortion the DAC produces is placed in the bass and lower mid-range to produce a richer sound. The R30 sounds as if that's been removed, but without imparting a lean tone. The result is that it brings you closer to a genuine performance. What about the high frequencies? Sibilance control, cymbal hits, the decay of harmonic structures, timing information relating to precise soundstage and imaging are all excellent on all three of these DACs, but the R30 just shows a little bit of extra detail, mainly because things are cleaner and more resolving at the frequencies below. So, what else do you need to know? This is a £3,000 DAC that I think could comfortably live with amplifiers and speakers that retail for up to about £10,000. Just make sure that the digital transport is up to the task. I'm using the Volumio Rivo Plus as my reference, powered by the Lineo 5 power supply. At just under £1,500, it outperforms Auralic and Lumin products costing £1,000 more, but has a less reliable user interface. I wouldn't want a music source below that level to hear this DAC at its best. Right, let me whiz through some of the menu features that I promised I'd discuss earlier. There are 3 PCM filters. Differences between them are subtle and preferences are going to depend on personal taste and synergy with the rest of the system. Linear Sharp has the most pre-ringing, contributing to a marginally artificial sound, but it has the least phase distortion and an optimized impulse response. The result is a slightly crisper transient attack to notes and a touch more focus to stereo imaging. Minimum Slow has no pre-ringing but the most post-ringing. The sound is a little less precise but more natural, like adding a touch of reverb, enriching acoustic instruments and breathy vocals. Super Slow produces hardly any pre or post-ringing artifacts, but it's likely to be the least phase coherent of the 3 filters. There's also a tiny bit of high frequency roll-off in the audible band. It'll be suitable for a subtly smoother and softer sound. Back to the menu system, DSD Direct enables DSD files to be decoded natively rather than converted to PCM. The aforementioned filters can be switched off by enabling NOS mode. Other functions relate to the selecting of an external reference clock, configuring the I2S pin layout, inverting the signal phase, triggering the unit out of standby when a signal is detected for a given channel, setting the volume of said channel, and changing the display settings. I do also want to comment about my experiences of the sound quality delivered by the various digital inputs. I couldn't tell AES EBU and I2S apart, both sounded glorious. USB sounded harder and muddier, but that's a characteristic of the output from the Volumio Rivo Plus streaming transport. Coaxial offered similar fidelity to USB, but with a softer presentation. Performance here is going to depend on the digital transport as much as the DAC, so your mileage is likely to vary from mine, and my advice would be to try all the options available and see which one you prefer. The Gustard R30 has a basic built-in streaming module running on a Cellware Linux operating system. It supports UPnP DLNA apps, Roon, AirPlay, Spotify Connect, but no Tidal Connect or Qobuz Connect, which is a shame. I downloaded the free mConnect app and logged into my Tidal account to test the in-house streaming capabilities of the R30. It's okay to get you started, but easily bettered. The R30 streamer is comparable to a WiiM Ultra or older generation Bluesound Node X in terms of sound quality. It's a million miles away from them in terms of functionality. Like those two players, it imparts a warm tone but ultimately lacks a bit of fidelity. It's comfortably outclassed by a £300 Bluesound Node Nano. The step relay volume control is a more usable feature than the streamer, precise and consistent across its volume range. Digital users aren't going to find better sound quality from an external analog preamp below £1,000. Yet the R30 sounds significantly cleaner through its fixed output by bypassing the internal volume control. So if you can afford to spend £2,000 or £3,000 on a really good analog preamplifier, do that and you'll fully appreciate what this DAC has to offer. Right, let's wrap things up. The Gustard R30 is an R2R ladder DAC that has extensive digital connectivity, a basic streaming module and a decent analog volume control. As attractive as it is on the outside, it's even more impressive on the inside. With separate transformers powering the digital and analog sections, 27-bit resistor ladders in quad mono configuration, oven control crystal oscillators and a clock module of a quality rarely found at this price. And then there's the discrete Class A output stage devoid of op-amps in the signal path with step relay attenuation. That ticks an awful lot of boxes. The upshot is a DAC that's totally natural, ultra resolving, with excellent timing and spatial qualities. In 2024, Denafrips increased the value proposition to their customers by changing their business model. In 2025, Gustard's response moves the needle even further. The R30 is not only the best DAC I've heard for £3,000, it's the best DAC that I reviewed so far. The Gustard R30 gets an outstanding from this channel. Okay, so I've got a couple of more products to review in November, and then December is given over to the best of year shows. I hope you look forward to them. My question for today is, what would you like to see me review in 2026? Please let me know in the comments section. I'm sure you know what to do by now if you want to support me here and what I do. Like, share, subscribe, hit the bell notification. Check me out on Patreon. There's a couple of tiers you can access there if you think I can help you on your audiophile journey. Also check out the ABA Club on Patreon, which has some great ways to interact with me and fellow Patreons. But for today, for now, a British audiophile, signing off.